and welcome to another episode of Cinema Sleuths. I am Luke Deckard.
And I am Matthew Booth.
What are we investigating this week?
We are looking at 1981's Thief, starring James Caan, Tuesday Weld, and Willie Nelson, and written and directed by Michael Mann. The IMDb logline is, after spending years in prison, a top safecracker owns a couple of businesses, which are fronts for diamond heists. After his trusted fence is killed, he agrees to work with a powerful mobster, but with dire consequences.
So we'll dive into first impressions. I was really keen to watch this because this is one of Michael Mann's films that I've not yet seen. So this was a first go for me. And knew nothing about it, which was great. Makes it all the more fun. And there's a brand new-ish 4K release out by Arrow Video that I decided to pick up and watch that version of it. It's a 4K release of the director's cut that also comes with a Blu-ray of the theatrical cut. So you get both, and you get a whole bunch of really interesting behind-the-scenes documentaries and things like that. It's and a little booklet of essays, which are great. One essay written by friend of the podcast, Barry Forshaw, who joined us for Strangers on a Train.
Yeah.
This is the first go for me, and I have to say this did not disappoint. Unlike our previous investigation that I was bored to death with, I couldn't be anything farther from bored with Michael Mann's Thief. I found it just so captivating. Everything was cooking here, which is fascinating, especially if you go back and listen to our Manhunter review, which comes after this a few years later. And you're just sort of like, what happened?
Well, I think we can sum that up in one sentence, and that is the 80s happened. The 80s hit Manhunter hard. We're sort of fortunate, if that's the right way to put it, to say that this is only just in the 80s in 1981. So really, we're sort of still coming out of the 70s. We've not been full on hit with 80s vibe.
No. I think generally they say it takes about half a decade for the decade to find itself, really.
Yeah.
And when you get to 1985 and you've got by this time you got Back to the Future, Ghostbusters has come out, Goonies and all that kind of stuff.
Goonies and all that, yeah.
That's like you've your Cyndi Laupers are out there. Madonna's. You've really cemented what 80s pop culture is at around 1985, and this is still very much that 70s grit. That this flows nicely with something like Taxi Driver,
absolutely,
The Godfather, that kind of style of cinema.
Just in the costumes. I mean, the flares aren't there. The flares has diminished dramatically, but some of the shirts and some of the sunglasses are very 70s. They are very 70s.
Yeah.
Because we're only a couple of years out of the 70s, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
This isn't the first time for me, but it might as well be, because I know I've seen this before, but it must have been so long ago that I didn't. I must have been a kid. I genuinely must have been a kid, and probably too young for it, because it didn't really leave any impression on me. But like you, this time around, there's a lot to go at on this.
Yes. Even before I had seen this film, I actually had a shot of the film as a screensaver on my phone. The shot of really early on in the film, after they've done the first heist, and there's that shot from behind the blue car, facing out towards the kind of the wet pavement and the neon lights. I had that as I saw it somewhere, and I thought, that's so cool. And I saved it, and I made it my phone, the background on my phone, because it was such a good image. But yeah, I mean, this is as we're saying, this is sort of an interesting. It feels like a hangover from the 70s, but it's also a very interesting time in cinema at this point, because it's just like I said, we're just out of the 70s, but the summer blockbuster has really come into its own by this time. You know, Star Wars is just fresh out. Obviously, Jaws 1975 kicks off the blockbuster, but now you've had Star Wars a couple of years ago. E.T.'s come out around this point. What, Indiana
Raiders.
Jones? Isn't Indiana Jones
Raiders.
this year as well? Yeah, Raiders. Yeah,
Raiders is 81. I'm not sure whether it's summer or when, but it's definitely 81.
Yeah. You know, so you've got this, everything is, it's, when you think of, it's funny, when you think of like 80s cinema, you tend to think of all of these really happy films. You know what I mean? Like Back to the Future, Indiana Jones, Star Wars, Goonies, E.T. You know, there are darker, cynical films out there like RoboCop, but that's late 80s. That's 87. That's when that kind of, you know, people aren't so happy with Reagan at that point in time.
Yeah,
Ronald Reagan.
Yeah. things are starting to turn. Yeah, definitely.
You know, and yeah, so this is such an interesting like film to like have positioned in and around these other sorts of films that just sort of is still very, very dark, very cynical, very, very grim, but works nicely if you compare it or watch it alongside something like Blade Runner, which was, it's 82. I guess Blade Runner is the next
82.
year.
Yeah, Blade Runner 82. Yeah.
And I kept thinking, wow, these kind of, you know, this one year, that the next year, like those are two years in a row of really good neo-noir you know, films that both flopped in the cinema.
Yeah, both, absolutely. Yeah. For reasons we may get into. But you're right, I agree with that comparison with Blade Runner. Because the opening shots of this are very much, until a spaceship arrives in Blade Runner, they're quite similar. You know, the rain-drenched, dark streets, and it starts in this sort of alleyway, you know, with just a fire escape illuminated, you know, and I think a car, and the rain is coming down hard, almost as hard as it is in Seven. Yeah, right.
Yes,
and
or the episode Noir in Smallville.
Oh, the episode Noir is okay. And
that was a lot of rain in that episode.
There's a lot of rain in that as well, yeah. And I just remember thinking, when I watched it this time, thinking, well, we're straight off with a vibe here. Yeah, we're straight off with a noir vibe, and with this opening, without a shadow of a doubt. You know, this ain't going to be a comedy. You know what I mean? So, and like those opening scenes in Blade Runner, where it's just the cityscape and it's quite dark and it's raining, and then spaceship arrives. Same sort of vibe. For a similar type of film.
Even musically, that techno, that synth, that dark synth, which is really adds a lot of interesting mood to this film.
Yeah, and it is synth and it is 80s, but it's nowhere near as relentless or as 80s as it is in Manhunter.
Yeah, but we'll get to music. I don't want to jump too far ahead.
No, we'll get to
music. But yeah, let's go behind the camera and talk about the making of the film. So, Thief came out March 27th, 1981. Cost around $5.5 million. Mm-hmm. And its box office was $11.5 million. So, as we said, it wasn't a hit. This didn't have mass appeal, which is a shame, because I think this is a terrific film. But then again, Blade Runner, same kind of stuff. And you got to sort of wonder why. Like, is it just mood? Are people not in the mood for this? I guess it's a bit like Night Moves. You know, that came out right around the same time as Chinatown. You know, and you know, were people just sort of, you know. Is it too much? Is it too much, too condensed, or is it just that attitudes were changing and, you know?
I think attitudes and appetites. I mean, like you say, we're sort of, what are we now? 5 years into the summer blockbuster. You know, and whilst this wasn't released in summer, that sort of feeling of big budget extravaganzas, you know, like you say, we'd had Jaws, we'd had 2 Star Wars by this stage.
Yeah.
So that sort of big budget.
2 Jaws.
2 Jaws. Oh yeah, 2 Jaws.
And 2 Star Wars.
So, we've had a sort of influx of all that big budget bonanza.
Yeah.
And, is this with heroes, with heroic figures in them. And then here comes a film that says it's an independent film that asks you to root for a villain.
Yes.
I wonder if it would have been more successful if it had come out in the mid-70s.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
When people were still a bit sort of, less popcorn cultured, put it that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it's a mixture of that. And first-time director, maybe not first-time writer necessarily, but written by the first-time director as well.
Yeah.
Based on a book about a criminal. I wonder if, was James Caan a big enough star as well? He'd done Godfather, but was he a big enough star in his own right? I mean, he'd been around for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But was he always one of the supporting players, never the star? And I think all these things mix. All these things play a part in how well a film does in a particular time and place.
Yeah. Yeah, because the 80s, when I think of 80s and I think of action movies and thrillers, I do tend to think of like silly things like Rambo, which that was huge. That was huge.
Yeah.
And I guess by this point we've had when did Rocky come out?
Well, Rocky 76.
So which how many Rockies have come out at this point? So
we must have had Rocky 2. Have we had Rocky 2 by this stage?
Must have done.
Rocky 3 is 83. I know that.
Okay, so that's about to come out
because it's the best one.
Is it? Is it? But like for example, like Rambo made 125 million the next year. So like you're saying, heroes, people are going after big, larger than life heroes, Indiana Jones, Han Solo. And when there's this kind of dark, bleak stuff, even Harrison Ford going into Deckard doesn't draw people in because it's more cynical, it's more dark, it's more thought provoking, and I think that's maybe the thing that I find quite fascinating is, there is back in the day, when at this point in time, the studios would have things they would have films that they would call for mouth breathers.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Indiana Jones or E.T. or whatever are necessarily for mouth breathers, but I would say something like, Jaws 3 is a mouth breather movie. It's so there is a lot more. I think also there's a lot more catering for the lighter, the poppier kind of block, summer, or not even just summer blockbuster, but just the lighter, poppier blockbuster that probably brings more of the whole family in and doesn't throw this like just intense grit and grime at the audiences. And I think that's kind of where Thief is coming in. It's coming at this weird, interesting transition point where, in 2 years' time, Rocky is going to have... Wait, is it in Rocky 3 that he has the robot, or is it Rocky 4?
No, that's Rocky 4.
Okay, well, a couple years' time, Rocky's going to have a robot.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's absolutely right. And we've gone from the films that we talked about, from the darkness of things like Night Move and Chinatown and Taxi Driver and whatever else. We sort of do transition into stupid... all-out adventure popcorn movies. Nothing wrong with those when they're well made. And Raiders is a brilliant film.
Yeah,
but it is also very much an example of what it is based on.
Yeah, and of course on TV you've got things like the A-Team.
The A-Team.
You've got Knight Rider. Yeah, Knight Rider.
Yeah, you've got all those, and when before you would have had things like. I can only think of things like the Sweeney or the Professionals, that dealt with terrorism and big themes in quite dark ways. Then suddenly you had cars exploding and men crawling out of them.
Yes. You had Magnum PI, which
Magnum, yeah.
is interesting, but yeah.
Yeah, and you get things like, you had the Hulk that was also a serious drama about a man who turns green. But when it was about the story, it was about big issues. And there was this cultural shift between the late 70s and the late 80s. And I think Manhunter was just like on the rise of that wave.
Oh, yeah. Do you mean Manhunter or Thief?
Thief, sorry.
Yeah.
Thief. Manhunter was on the crest of that wave.
Yeah, I was going to say. Wait a minute.
Yeah. Sorry, no, Thief was on the sort of rise of the wave. And suffers because of it at the time. But like so many of these films that did, has been reassessed as the decades have passed by. It's almost universally held as a classic.
Yes.
The reviews are. You have to go a long way to find a bad review of this.
Yeah.
There are some out there. But they're few and far between. The overriding reaction to this film is positive.
Yeah. So, I mean, as we said, this was Michael Mann's directorial debut. He had, been working on, in film and TV and stuff, or not in film, but working in TV and stuff like that for a while, and had studied in the UK. Can't remember what university he studied at, but he studied film in the UK. And this really was his first big shot. And there's these movies where you're like, when it's a debut, sometimes debuts are rocky, and you can kind of see that there's room to grow. Mm-hmm. This one is, I would say, very well accomplished for a debut. This doesn't feel like a debut at all.
No, it doesn't. It is very well accomplished.
Yeah.
And some of the performances we'll get into the performances, but some of the performances he gets out of Caan and Tuesday Weld are pretty spectacular. And also Robert Prosky, who I want to talk about later on. So,
definitely.
Yeah, it's a very much an assured piece of work, this.
Yeah. And you can really, if you watch this film, you can absolutely see the rest of Mann's career unfold.
Yeah.
Like, you can see Miami Vice in this. You can see Heat in this. You can see Collateral in this. You can see everything that Michael Mann will go on to do is all seated in this. I would say seated in this film. And probably if you look at his TV stuff, it's going to be stuff there. But this film is you can really feel it. You
can definitely feel. I agree with that. On certainly on the two examples you can definitely feel the Miami Vice in this, because again, Miami Vice was like heart of the 80s, but doesn't feel like it's, apart from the clothes, it's got a timeless noir quality to it that we discussed in the episode.
Yeah,
and this is definitely a precursor to Heat.
Oh God, yeah, this is better than Heat.
I think this is better than Heat.
I'll say that now. I don't like Heat.
I'll say that now. I think Heat is overrated.
It is.
I think Heat's overrated. But
yes,
I'd much rather watch this again than Heat. Yeah, definitely.
Yes. Yeah, because the other thing I was thinking about as I was watching this is like, okay, not only am I seeing Michael Mann's, career being blossomed from this film, but I'm like, oh, okay, I can also see all of the stuff that is going to influence Christopher Nolan, because Christopher Nolan is it says he's influenced by Heat. I'm sure, I don't know, I don't deep dive into Christopher Nolan that much. I'm assuming all of Michael Mann is a huge influence on Christopher Nolan.
Well, I'm not a big Christopher Nolan fan or expert. I know him primarily for Batman, and that's not because it's Christopher Nolan, it's because it's Batman. But you can see this in The Dark Knight.
Yes.
I think you can see this in The Dark Knight more than you can see Heat in The Dark Knight.
I agree with that. It's like there's like the one scene in Heat with the truck that everyone sort of compares that to The Dark Knight, but then I'm watching this and I'm like, no, this is Batman Begins. This is The Dark Knight. Like those chases through the tunnel, the way that man is shooting Chicago is the same way Nolan shoots Chicago to be Gotham. Like
and the whole business of the heists,
more thief. Yeah.
The whole business of the heists and the detail that he goes into in the heist. That's the opening scene to The Dark Knight, as I remember it, is you could put in this film and not see the joint almost.
When they were in this film, when they were on the roof and they're scoping out that building across the way, it's that black building that I can't remember.
Is it the same one?
I think it's the same one that doubles for Wayne Enterprises in Batman in The Dark Knight, because they changed Wayne Enterprises in the second film to this big ugly black building. I
thought it was.
Yeah, I was like, I think they use that same building. I think I don't know if it's the same one where the window explodes. It might, because but it's all very.
It all looks similar.
Yeah, the influence is so clear with Thief. Absolutely far more than Heat. Far.
Yeah,
more.
I agree. I think it is much more. The only other bit in the Dark Knight of Heat I can see in The Dark Knight is at a Porsche, the confrontation scene, one in a diner, one in a police interview room. But, you could say that from my point of view, you could say that from any hero versus villain confrontation.
Yes.
It doesn't really make it an homage, that, but I think all the rest of the stuff in this is definitely referenced in The Dark Knight.
Yeah,
and in Batman Begins.
Yeah, definitely. Those first two, I got nothing to say about the third one. Now, this film is loosely based off of a book called The Home Invader, written by Frank Hoymer, a professional thief who also served time in prison, but it was also a someone who served on the film as a sort of on set expert,
technical advisor.
Yeah. It's fascinating with this film because there were a lot of former thieves, jewel thieves, who actually participated in this film, as well as real police officers.
Yeah.
It's funny because we were just criticizing Highest to Lowest for some of the worst acting that made us think that did they literally just like get some real cops or whatever and like throw them and give them a line. In Thief, you would not know that any of these people were real thieves and or real cops, because the performance that Mann gets out of them, everything about it just is drenched in authenticity.
Yeah, it is.
And I love it.
This is a Mann feature, isn't it? This is Mann's thing, getting everything right, and it pays off. It pays off in the sense that everything looks utterly believable.
Yeah,
utterly believable. In the same way that having what's that guy's name? He plays the drill sergeant in Full Metal Jacket, and he's the senior cop in Seven. Elroy Emery, whatever he's called. He's a real drill sergeant, and he was advising Kubrick on how drill sergeants talk, and he said, "I'll do it with the actors. I'll do what they would say." He did it, and they fired the actor that was cast because he can't do it as well as him. And that sort of sprinkling of reality and of truth really elevates some of these things, and it's the same in this. Yeah,
I agree. So the film's original title was Violent Streets. We should have named our podcast that.
We should have named the podcast that.
Welcome back to Violent Streets.
Yeah,
what do you think of Violent Streets?
I don't know. I don't think I like it as much as Thief. I think Thief
says it
just
all.
A real good, gutsy one-word title that tells you everything that you need to know.
Yes.
By comparison, Violent Streets. I mean, for a start, it sounds too much like Mean Streets.
It does, which
Scorsese film.
Yeah.
And secondly, it's all very generic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because Mean Streets obviously comes from, well, I mean,
Chandler.
From one aspect, it comes from the Chandler essay.
Yeah.
Simple art of murder down these mean streets, and me and man must go, whatever it is. But violent streets just sounds like, well, I can't use mean streets, so what else could I use?
Yeah, exactly. What else
just sounds a bit catch penny.
Violence? Yes.
Whereas Thief is a no nonsense gunshot of a title.
Yeah. It's a much better title. I like it's simple and just fits. It's so much better. Better than Violent Streets.
Yeah, and it's what it's about.
Yes. Well, that's the other thing as well. Because you say Violent Streets and like, well, this is really about one guy. This isn't about violent streets. It's just there is violence and he's on streets, but it's sort of,
This isn't about the environment he lives in.
Mm-mm.
This is about him. It's about Frank.
Yeah. But kind of back to your point about authenticity, I think one of the other things that helped this film feel so real is that, they weren't using for the burglary bits and whatnot. They were using real burglary kits. The actors had to know how. Well, James Caan had to learn how to use this stuff while also being advised by actual thieves. Former thieves. So even the bit where they, which we'll go into more detail later, but the melts, whatever that is, a kind of welding thing where they're burning through the safe, like that whole thing is real. This was Tom Cruise before Tom Cruise. Like this was this was done legitimately on film. This wasn't movie magic. This was. We're going to literally drill through this mother effing actual vault door with this actual, now
it'd be CGI sparks and all sorts of rubbish. But this is genuine. This is absolutely true. He's doing it for real. And if that doesn't send a thrill down your spine when you're watching it, when you know that, then I think there's something wrong.
Yeah. I mean, so like, what's so fun about this is like a good example is like, I just will briefly talk about the drill scene. There's the sparks. You feel it.
Yeah.
You really, really feel the sparks. Now, I remember watching The Hobbit. And there's a scene early on in The Hobbit where Smaug is attacking Erebor, the mountain kingdom of the dwarves. And there's these scenes where there's fire is blasting and they're trying to get away from the fire, and it's very obvious that when the fire blasts, it's very obvious that someone has just like turned on an orange light and flashed it on the actors in those scenes. And it pulled me out. Like every time I rewatch The Hobbit, I'm like, oh yeah, this is the scene with like cue orange light. Boop.
Yeah. yeah. And then somebody on a computer makes a load of flames, you mean?
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, CGI flames, and then but then if you go back and watch, but then you go back and you watch The Lord of the Rings, and there is so much practical that you love it and you're like, this feels real, feels immersive. So going back to this, like Thief, like the fact that all of this is real and you feel the weight of that reality adds this dimension, adds this authentic dimension to it, and pulls me in so much more than CGI Robert Downey Jr.'s head on a fake Iron Man outfit. Like I'm not into that. Like I can see it's fake.
Well, and that's part of a wider point, because when they're going back to when they're on the rooftop scoping it out, they're really on that rooftop, and the city below them is real. It's functioning. It's working, as it normally does every day. Whereas, as we've mentioned many times before, too often now you see people against a skyline, and it looks fake because it is. So it just adds a total reality to it, and another layer of drawing you in and of making you part of it when you know that they're doing this stuff for real. It's like when Harrison Ford says, I'll do my own stunts, and Tom Cruise, I'll do my own stunts because if you just see a man in a hat and a leather jacket, they're going to know it isn't me.
Yeah.
So I'll do as much of it as I can so that the audience believes it's me.
Yeah.
Because it is me.
Yes. Yes.
And I know that's for stunts and they're all going to be safe and all the rest of it. But it's the same point because you've got to believe it. You've got to believe what you're seeing. And I believe every word of Thief. Every word of it.
Unlike that chase scene in Highest to Lowest where 70-year-old Denzel Washington is doing gymnastics over the ticket barrier.
Yeah, what's all that about?
I am never going to let that go.
No.
I might mention that every episode like I mentioned Smallville in every episode. So.
Shall we do it? Shall we mention it? You mention that and I'll mention Night Always Comes in every episode.
There we go. So let's talk about Frank. James Caan's Frank. Now, there were a couple of interesting alternatives for this role. Jeff Bridges was one. Al Pacino was another. Gene Hackman and Roy Scheider. From Jaws. Our Jaws boy. I would almost be fine with all of these except Al Pacino.
Me too. But I do think Jeff Bridges is probably too young.
Well, that's why he said no. He didn't think he had the experience for it, and sure.
But I think a few years down the line, definitely. But I'd be perfect. I'd be more than happy with Roy Scheider, and I'd be more than happy with Gene Hackman.
Yeah,
I think both of those could have done this.
Yeah. This is one of those moments where it's like, man, all the actors that they had in mind. I'm like, I'm good with really all of those.
I'm with all of these. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, even Al Pacino probably would have been fine because he wouldn't have been doing Heat Al Pacino. He would have been, it's still possible that he could have been really good in this. I'm judging him based on Michael Mann and Heat and his overacting in that just drives me up a wall. I know he's meant to be like high the whole time, but like it just dial it back, sir.
Dial it back. Yeah, definitely. Well, he's like that a lot, isn't he? He's like that a lot.
Yes.
He'd be at the bottom of my list.
Yes. Sure.
Yeah. Hackman and Scheider would be no problem at all for me. But I do think Caan is right. I think Caan is great in this. But they are good substitutes.
Definitely.
But if I had to have Al Pacino, then I wouldn't not watch it. I'd just, be praying he didn't eat the scenery.
True. Yeah, so very interesting choices, but I have to say, I am very happy with the choice of Caan. I think James Caan is this is his film. He is stealing every scene. He is just everything about his performance is so captivating. There's so much it's interesting. He's poured, it feels like he's pouring so much into this character who has, I want to say not a little depth, but just who is so sort of soulless in many ways. Like there's a sort of shark-like quality to the character of Frank, right? Like he's not, he has his dreams. He wants to have a wife, wants to have a kid, all that kind of stuff, but he is also in many occasions just sort of this dead-eyed hunter.
Yeah.
Throughout
well,
this.
He is, but I also think he's one of those men who they know what they want in life, and he has his dreams, and it's a perfectly valid dream. But there are people who push that dream away from themselves because they daren't fully commit to it in case it goes wrong.
Yes.
And I think Frank's one of those people. I think he desperately wants the wife and family that he says he wants, but he knows what he is, and he's frightened that he'll wreck it.
Yeah.
So he sort of holds it at arm's length a bit. And I wonder if that's part of the reason why, like you say, he's a bit soulless, because he can't fully commit to it. But what's great about this film, what's great about the scripts and the performances, you understand why.
Yes. Yeah.
They take the time to explain why without just giving you a load of info dump.
Yeah. And I guess we should say, when we say soulless, we don't mean that there's like a soulless performance or a soulless character. It's like it's part of his character.
It's part of his character.
It's a fantastic performance, and it's a fantastic character.
Yeah.
And that character has a very dark, well, maybe it's just it's very dark and pushed down soul.
yeah, absolutely. It's not that he's got he's not soulless in that he has no soul.
Yeah.
He's buried his soul.
Yeah.
He's actually, because he's a fully fledged character. This is proper 3-dimensional character right in this.
Yeah.
You know, but I think he's frightened of what he wants the most. I think he's frightened to fully commit in case he messes it up. That's what I mean when I say he's soulless, in the sense that he can't give he can't give his soul what it really wants.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I also, you know, as I'm watching this, you can't help but sort of compare and think about other heist movies, you know, that have come out over the years. There were elements of this that sort of reminded me of The Killing.
Yeah, Sterling Hayden.
We did a while ago. There's this, and that sort of, you know, he has, like you said, he has his dreams. He just needs this one big score. Again, another influence on Nolan. You know, he needs this one big score. If he has this big score, everything can work out. Everything will be fine. He can get away with the woman that he loves. Everything's gonna be fine. You know, there's that aspect of it. I also couldn't help but think that this is sort of, you can see the influence of this on something like Drive, kind of contemporary neo-noir heist movies. There's a lot of similarities, I think, between Frank and the driver, who is, again, a very subdued, maybe that's it, maybe it's subdued and repressed.
I think
are both Frank and the driver. And so when they come alive as these monsters.
Yeah, well,
but they're doing it for kind of justifiable-ish reasons.
Justifiable reasons, yeah, justifiable reasons. And it's the old Jekyll and Hyde thing, where the great quote where Jekyll says that his beast came out, he'd uncaged his beast and it came out roaring, or words to that effect. And that's what happens. You're right, in Drive and in this, but they're both protecting something that they value.
Yeah.
Frank and the driver, they're both protecting something that matters to them.
Yeah.
And I think that's very compelling. And that's why you root for these people. You don't root for them because they're criminals. You root for them because they believe in something. And it's something that will make them better. It will something that will improve them. And it's taken away from them. And that, you know, we can all relate to that, surely. Something that you desperately want that will make your life better, and then somebody takes it away from you.
Yeah,
and that's gut wrenching.
Definitely.
But people like Frank have the guts to do something about it. You know, to go and get some sort of vengeance.
Doesn't he? Just he sure does. My God. Right. So this might be a good segue, because we start talking a little bit more, pointed about the story. But before I do that, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the music, just briefly. Again, like I said, when the film kicks on and the music starts, everything about the opening really does, like I said, feel like Blade Runner. That 80s neo-noir synth, deep wah 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 kind of stuff is going on. The score was done by Tangerine Dream. If you don't know anything about them, they're a German electric band.
Going for decades.
Yeah, they've done a number of films. They've done a number of films with Michael Mann. I found myself absolutely captivated by the music and found it so pitch perfect and nailing the atmosphere of this film. Interestingly enough, this film was nominated for a Razzie.
Yeah.
For the worst musical score.
Yeah, I think that's a bit harsh, isn't it?
I would say that's so, because
really harsh.
Like, how is this the worst? Like, what?
Yeah, I don't know.
Did you listen to Terminator?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this is a good example, because if you go back and listen to our talk on Terminator, I was very harsh about the music, and that's because the Terminator theme is fantastic, but the general music throughout the Terminator just feels like like cheesy synth, whereas this feels like gritty synth. That's like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, well, this is it's very Vangelis.
Yes.
It's very Vangelis. I mean, let's be honest. And and it's but it fits. It fits far more than the Manhunt score fits.
Mm.
You know, and like I said before, it's far less intrusive.
Yeah.
And relentless than the Manhunt score. And you know, I think it would have been too easy. A man talks about having blues music. But I think that's sort of too easy an option when you're basing it in Chicago, you know. And to have a sort of a typical noir soundtrack, again, would be too easy, because this isn't a film set in the past. This isn't a film set in noir's heyday.
Yeah.
So the score for Chinatown works because it's set in the 30s.
Yeah.
You know, and this is set in its time, and music of its time was this. So, you know, it works. I think it does work as a score. I can't understand why it was nominated for a Razzie. And I think the soundtrack album, only some of the reviews I saw were giving it like 2 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, no, it's great. I was all day long today. I've had it on repeat. I've just been listening to it over and over and over because it's on Spotify, and it's great. It's just very good. Just very, very good.
You're in good company, because another friend of the podcast, Ian Rankin, Tangerine Dream, his part of his writing music ritual. He writes the Rebus books too.
Yes.
CDs he's been listening to for decades, and Tangerine Dream are one of them.
Yes.
So, I mean, you can't get a better referral than that, can you?
I don't think so. But it was interesting because, as you said, you know, your man was interested in maybe doing blues music, but he's quoted as saying that he's like, I felt that to be so regionally specific in the music choice would make Frank's experience specific only to Frank.
No, that's a great point. I agree with that. I agree with that. Because there are people like Frank, in terms of having their dreams come to nothing, you know, all over the place, but not all of them will be interested in Chicago jazz.
Yes.
You know, whereas a lot of them would have been listening to this sort of music. So it does run the risk of alienating a lot of audience members.
And what I would say, again, like Blade Runner, the score that Tangerine Dream put together is something that it's of its time, but you're not locked to that time. Like, when you think, you know, we're now in the age of shows like Stranger Things and whatnot, where this sort of 80s synth is quite common in a lot of things. You know, films like Drive use a lot of, you know, techno 80s techno synth and stuff like that. You know, this score just fits in so well with all of these contemporary scores. It's like it maybe it felt dated at the time, maybe it was jarring to audiences then, but as time has shown, it's actually become one that is, you know, it's easily almost kind of happy to say timeless score. You know, it's rooted in its, you know, in where it comes from, but it's not stuck there, you know.
No, it's not stuck there in the sense of, like, if the soundtrack was all, I don't know, 80s pop, like, you know, Cyndi Lauper and Wham and all that stuff.
Yes.
Then it would be great, you know, it would be grounded in its time. But there is a timelessness to it, because it's a film score that does a lot of different things. It does a lot of stuff. It's working very hard, this score.
Yeah, I think so.
To underpin the angst and the repression and the violence of the film.
There's so many scenes that I really enjoyed in this. One very early on. I mean, the opening heist scene is fantastic. That is like, it's 10 minutes, no talking, but so tense and thrilling that you're just hooked the whole time. But my favorite bit about that, I mean, again, stunning cinematography, stunning, you know, captures of Chicago at night with wet streets and neon signs. Beautiful stuff. It's so, like, delicious to look at. But my favorite bit is the end of all of that, when when Frank goes to the Lake Michigan, and there's that guy fishing and offers him a Danish, and there's that shot from behind where they're both in deep shadow, and the waves are just, you know, moving back and forth in front of them, almost like bluish, blackish oil. You know, it almost looks fake, but it's real.
Yeah.
And it looks so, as the sun is just coming up. There's just a little bit of light in the distance. It's just dawn is breaking. It's such an atmospheric moment of like, wow, like this is like that scene. It is a bit like that, those scenes in Manhunter early on where we're getting incredible over the shot scenes with the ocean behind, like
on the beach.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, those opening scenes on the beach. I think we said at the time they were beautiful.
Yeah,
and just allowing not overcrowding it, just allowing it to be the beach and the ocean, and two specks of human beings on it. Yeah. I love that opening, the heist, and what I love about it, same as the one at the end. I love the fact it's not rushed. It's not cut with sharp, flashy cuts. It's just all played in real time because they're doing it for real. It's silence, but you are so invested in it because what they're doing is interesting. I say this a lot. You don't need flashy cuts and loads of sharp dialogue to make these things interesting. I was gripped from, like I said, from the opening shot of that fire escape in the rain through to that heist, and then ending it by, like you say, with that Danish.
Yeah, one a Danish.
A bit of sort of, and a bit of normality after all this stuff. You think, wow, this. So you're getting two sides of one man essentially. Yeah. In those opening scenes.
Yeah,
and I thought they were great, but the first scene that really made me think, oh, yeah, I'm really gonna like this, was when he goes to the office after they've killed Gags. He goes to get his money back from that bloke in the suit, and they're treating him like dirt, and he just goes off on one.
That was a great scene when Gags dies. You're like, and I had to laugh when you first meet Gags. He's just this like puddle of dough.
Yeah. His face looked totally hairless. He had like no eyebrows or eyelashes from what I could see.
He was such a goofy looking guy. Such a goofy looking guy. But it was interesting. It was interesting. I mean, but I like that sort of inciting incident where he's like, okay, this guy had my money. Now these guys have my money. I need that money.
Yeah, I want that money. That money's mine. I've earned that money.
And just the way he just goes into that office, he doesn't give a shit, And I like that he pulls his gun out of that little secret compartment in the car.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I was like,
and one thing I loved is he doesn't put the gun away when he walks out into the secretary pool.
Yes.
He doesn't pretend that everything's all right. He doesn't say, now there'd be a quip, wouldn't there? He put it away and there'd be a quip.
Yeah.
But he keeps that gun out, and I think he points at the woman making coffee, doesn't he?
Yeah. He points at a lot of people.
Some bloke gets up. I don't know what the hell he thinks he's going to do.
Like, nope.
Get down, sit down.
Yeah.
And I think now you wouldn't get that, and I just think that's gutsy stuff. That's keep his gun out, walking through a pool of innocent secretaries and some doofus in the corner is really good, really, really good. Because Frank means business. He's not taking any prisoners.
Yes,
because he wants his money back. It's a perfectly reasonable thing to ask for.
Yeah, and I think again, it's one of those things that you like about Frank is like he also operates with a code. He's not going to do like your just basic run of the mill break-ins at someone's house. No home burglaries. He really doesn't want to do anything that is going to cause anyone physical harm or put them in any real proper physical danger. So he has some kind of moral compass, some kind of deranged moral compass in there. He's not really, you wouldn't call him a Robin Hood, but he seems like his targets are wealthy people who aren't going to go hurting because this has been taken from them, kind of. In a way, he very much strikes me as a 1980s version of John Roby the Cat from To Catch a Thief.
Yes.
Right?
Good analogy. Very good. Yeah.
That is who he reminded me of, except in Hitchcock's film, he's cool and suave, but this is the dark and gritty post 1970s, early 1980s version of guy who's just come out of the war, who was in prison for jewel thievery.
Yeah, you don't have Cary Grant in 1981. You have James Caan.
Exactly.
Get on with it.
Exactly.
But yeah, I agree about his code, and he's doing it so that he can have a life and disappear. He's not doing it just for for kicks, and he's not doing it to sort of do anything bad with it. He's doing it so that he can have a life and put his past behind him.
Yes.
But he's doing it in the only way he knows how. There's a lot of sympathy for Frank. You can have a lot of sympathy for Frank, who's a man stuck with what he is.
Yes.
And he's trying to escape that. That's a universal theme. That's a great central idea for a character.
Yes. And he's simultaneously very intelligent, but also kind of stupid. In the way that he doesn't have good grammar. He, educated it.
Yeah. Which was improvised.
But he does that quite a bit throughout the film. He is, you can tell that he is of a, he comes from a lower class, and he is struggling to just, have a kind of happy basic life, even though he's in many ways, he could have that because he's got his dealership. He's got this stuff that could maybe sustain him, but it's not enough. He wants that sort of, he almost, in many ways, he does strike me as more of a, he strikes me as maybe someone more of a more conservative character, this sort of deluded conservative who looks up to the rich moguls who are also crooks, and wants that life, and thinks that if I work hard, I'll get it. I can keep, I can get there. He kind of strikes me as someone who probably would have voted for Ronald Reagan. Probably believes in Reaganomics, which is a complete farce. He strikes me as someone who buys into that, and I think the fact that he goes into business with Leo, played by Robert Prosky, is evident of that.
Yeah.
He goes to the guy at the top. He thinks this guy's going to, trickle down a bunch of money his way, and then he's going to be able to be his own man. Guess what? The man's got you by the balls, Frank.
Yeah. There's a bit of naivety there, isn't there? Which is perfectly believable.
Stupid conservative naivety is what that is.
I'll do this one job, and then I want me 830,000, whatever it is. God knows what that would be today.
But it's like 1.2 million or something like that, or a couple of years ago. Yeah.
So
it's a lot of money.
I want that, and I'll do this job, and then you'll give it me, and we'll all be fine. Even from the crime fiction I've read, I know gangsters don't work like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when that is paid off at the end of the film, in a bit, we'll talk about. That is, you can see Frank realize he's been a dope.
Yes.
You can see he's thought, oh God. And noir heroes can be dopes. They can. Dupes, or even noir anti-heroes like this. They are dopes in one way or another. And that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Yeah. But yeah, I agree. These things humanize him. These things, he's not slick, is he? No. He's not, he's not Danny Ocean, is he?
No, he's not. Far from
so he's just I agree. I think he's from the lower class, not intelligent in the sense of academic intelligence.
Yeah, he's got street smarts.
He's streets
on those violent streets.
On the violent streets, yeah, he's a violent streets. He's got that sort of intelligence, and he's got obviously a prison education, and it's made him what he is, which is something he doesn't necessarily want to be anymore. And I just find all this compelling. I really do. Yeah. And the bit in the adoption agency where he has a go at her, which we'll come on to, but he has a go at her, and he's totally he's not avoiding what he has been.
Yeah.
But he's saying, why should that matter when I'm trying to make myself better?
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. That was actually it's a really powerful scene, I think, because he's like, he is trying to better himself. I actually understand why the adoption lady's like, I mean, given what happens throughout the rest of the film, like, I understand the reluctance there.
Yeah.
But also he also then says things that are very cutting and telling of the time, and probably true of today. You know, he's like, well, give us an old kid. No one wants the old kids. We'll take an old kid. We'll give us an 8-year-old. You know, he was like, give us a black baby. You know, give us something that people, at least at that point in time, are disregarding and not wanting. We will love anything we can get.
Yeah.
And what's wonderful about that is that then also peels another layer of who this character Frank is. He can be vicious, he can be violent, he can be this. He can be repressed and almost soulless, but at the same time, he's someone who clearly has love inside and wants to love both a spouse and a child, even if that child can't be biologically his. He wants that.
And she says, I can't have children. He says, so what? We'll adopt. It never crosses. He doesn't miss a beat in saying it.
Exactly.
And he says to that adoption lady, he says something along the lines of, there's a kid out there waiting and we're here waiting.
Yeah.
What's the problem? Put us together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you think that's, in a childish way, that's logic. That makes perfect logical sense.
Yes.
Except life isn't like that, Frank, and you need to learn that life isn't like that. It's not that easy.
Yes.
And that is sort of endearing,
it is
to this point, and all part of the reason why I fully understand what he ends up doing.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
because it's once he gets his money back and he comes face to face with Leo again, that shot is amazing. With the two cars on either side and the city behind them and the river and that was such just perfect framing, just beautiful. God, so good. And Leo's like, I want you to come work for me. And Frank's like, I don't work for anybody. He's got that noir code of I am my own man. I am my own boss. And that's the way he wants to keep it. But that seed was planted in his mind from Leo of I can get you a lot of money, and he's thinking, oh, this guy can get me a lot of money. And it's not until he goes and forces Jesse on the date. Let's talk about Jesse. Let's talk about Tuesday Weld. We first meet her very early on when Frank is talking to Gags at that diner, and they're sort of making eyes across the way. If I had a complaint in the film, this is probably maybe one of them, and that is the setup of their relationship is just a little bit on the clunky side.
Yeah,
because it plays like they don't know each other at all. And then when he goes over, he's like, so I'll pick you up Saturday night or whatever. And she's like, yeah, okay. I'm like, wait, so you do know each other?
Yeah. It is a little bit perfunctory.
It feels like they edited stuff and thought, okay, just have him make eyes, have him say this, so it will tell the audience that they already know each other. And you're like, okay, but because later on when he does meet her in the bar and she doesn't want to go with him, like their conversation is clearly one of I don't know anything about you.
Yeah, that's yeah. There's it is at odds with each other, and I prefer the interpretation they don't know anything about each other.
Yes,
because everything that follows makes sense. But if she knows him, she knows more than. Yeah, I have to accept that she knows more than the film makes me think she does. Which means that the scene in the diner, which is I think is a great scene.
Yeah.
Perhaps Caan's real moment in this. That's then becomes all exposition. If she knows anything about him, she knows some of this. Then it becomes exposition. Yeah. But if she doesn't know him, it doesn't. It becomes an explanation of him from him as to why she's important to him.
Yes.
And those are two different things. Things.
Yeah.
So I then don't, like you, I don't understand why they just suddenly, because he sort of looks up, doesn't he? He's reaching out of his chair to stare over the bar.
Yes.
And she's sort of trying not to look at him. And that's all. I've just seen a woman for the first time and I think she's a knockout. And I can't stop looking at her. And then suddenly she's going on a date with him.
Yeah, well, but that's the thing. Like, I did a little bit of research on this one, and it does look like there was some reworking that was done in post production, and that is because the opening scene was apparently a bit sort of confusing to people, or at least in the kind of early cuts, and and I think the problem was that it was playing like a first meeting, and then like I said, then they try to play it off like they do have a history, but then when you pair that with the scene at the bar where he drags her out of the bar because he's late for the date, and it's just a bit sort of too much.
Yeah, a little bit.
But he is a bad guy. And I think that's the other thing to remember. It's like, this guy, Frank, is not a hero. And it sort of reminds me of, like, there were, back when when Game of Thrones was out, people were just furious about the final season and the final episodes because Emily, whatever her name is, who played the character of Daenerys, turns out to be a villain, a lunatic villain. But I was like, guys, if you go back and you watch Game of Thrones from the beginning, from the very first meeting with her, she is doing things that are terrible.
Yeah.
she's doing things that are bad, but she's doing them to bad people. Therefore, you were on her side.
Yeah.
Right. But then when she starts doing things to people who are, who should be bad things, people who should be on her, she should be on their side, then you become conflicted. She's like, oh wait, you're ruining my character. It's like, no, she's always been morally bankrupt. She's always been out to control and dominate, and no matter who stands in her way, she's going to do that. So makes sense. So as uncomfortable as that scene is, I did have to kind of step back and say, no, well, Frank is a criminal. He is a bad guy, but
Well, that's the thing.
He's not Cary Grant hooking up with
Grace Kelly.
Grace Kelly, you know what I mean?
But he's absolutely Frank.
Yes,
and he acts exactly the way that Frank should act.
And
you don't always have to like your protagonist, do you? You don't always have to like them. They can do things that you disagree with. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Otherwise, they become bland, like Dudley Do-Rights.
Exactly.
So you don't like what nobody's going to like what Frank does by just dragging her out and forcing her into the car and saying we are having this date when he's the one that's late, the asshole.
Exactly.
So I mean, he's lucky she stayed around and didn't go home.
Yes, well, there is that kind of comedic scene where he puts her in the car, he walks around the car, she gets out of the car, he walks around and grabs her, puts her in the. There is a bit of sort of like tongue-in-cheek goofiness to that scene that you can kind of and it's I think it's kind of played like that to sort of alleviate the awfulness of what that would look like in real life.
But that's what Frank would do, and I think you have to accept that. Yeah. You have to accept that. It's part of who he is, and you don't have to like it. Nobody likes everyone without question.
Yeah,
there are things about your very best friend that you might think, I wish he wasn't like that a bit. So that's what being human is. It is. That's what being 3 dimensions is. And it works. That's what Frank would do. So I can accept it, but I don't have to agree with it.
No.
But what follows, I think, is a great scene.
Well, it's an iconic scene, the diner scene, the coffee scene, where they
and
sort
again,
of.
I prefer it to the Heat one.
Yeah,
it's serving different. I suppose it's serving different story beats, but I still prefer to watch it. I still think it's more compelling.
Yeah, no, it is. It's terrific. You kind of see the walls come down. You see a little bit of heart to Frank, that he's not necessarily a monster kind of guy. There's something to him, despite all of his rough edges. You kind of get on his side, and she, as the conversation goes, like, you see her being slowly won over. Like, she's all kind of stiff at the beginning, and then she sort of softens, and then she takes her coat off, and it's all sort of, and then she's smiling, and then and then she's, I can't have kids, I can't do this. So he's like, I don't care. It all works very very naturally, I think.
And
Which,
I think she's won over, as you would be, by the simplistic, by which I mean childish, this collage he's done of what his life is.
Yeah.
It's such a childish thing. It's like drawing a picture of a house and 2 adults and 2 kids. It's the sort of adult equivalent of that, and you can see that she's touched by it. That she's just, this bloke, bloke.
Yeah, but also the other thing that's interesting is Jessie comes from a checkered past as well. She's not like the good girl in what is it, Out of the Past? No.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it is. It is Out of the Past. Yeah, there's the good girl that he's dating, and she's not that girl. She is not that girl. She is a former, she's not really a former femme fatale, but she is, was doing bad stuff and involved in drugs and all that kind of whatever. Yeah. And is just happy to just, have her job, have a social security card, that's all she's happy with. She's got that. And he's like, but I can get us so much more. So much more. And again, she is also sort of a numbskull and deluded and buys into
the life,
his promises, his delusion.
Yeah. And I love the bit before I love the storm before that calm. When he says, what do you think I do? And she says, you're a car salesman or whatever it is, she says. And he says, I change cars more often than people change their underpants. Oh, I can't remember, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I wear $50 shirts and all this. He goes, I'm a thief.
Yes.
Yeah. Another reason why this film is called The Right Thing, because in that one line.
Yes.
And the fact that he says that, and she's sort of bewildered by that confession, and then he explains what he is all about after what had happened to him in prison. Like you say, the walls come down, the shutters come down, and she starts to understand, and that's a perfectly believable progression.
Yeah,
once you buy into the fact that these people have already just met, sort of thing.
Yes, yes,
that's a perfectly, in movie terms, that's fine. And this is a perfectly natural progression of 2 people that are going to form a relationship and do.
Yeah. And once he's got her on side, he goes out and he makes the call that damns them both. He goes and tells Leo, "All right, I'm in," and
this is where noir fatality, starts rolling its dice.
Indeed. I mean, there's so many amazing scenes that sort of follow after this. I mean, I love the sort of when the cops follow him after he leaves the cocktail bar and arrest him. Like, and then it's that whole bit where the dirty cops they arrest him like, oh, what do you arrest me for? Oh, you're driving without a taillight. And they bash it out like dirty cops in a dirty city with dirty crooks. Like, it's just everything is dirty and corrupted, and I it's perfect.
That reminded me of
room. Awesome.
That reminded me of I can't remember which Chandler novel it is, where they make Marlowe drink some whiskey and then punch him in the guts so that he spits it down himself, and they say, "Hey, we got you for drunk driving."
Yes,
that sort of stuff. That reminded me of those sort of Chandler touches.
Yes, and what it was cool about this scene is that the interviewing cop was like, I know about you. You're no violence, strictly professional. I'd probably like you. And what's about this is that this is actually sort of based in reality, and that is as I was reading about the background to this film, what cops would do, there were certain thieves and criminals that you couldn't rough up. You couldn't rough them up enough to get them to get information. What you had to do is you had to take them to dinner.
I read this as well.
Ball game, and I was like, that's nuts. I love that. It's great.
It's crazy, but it's great. Yeah, I read that, and that's what they had to do, because they knew that beating them wouldn't do anything. They just go quiet, and of course that's what Frank's going to do. That's what Frank's going to do. You know that.
Yeah. Then you got that wonderful follow scene where he's cut loose, and they follow him throughout, and the music is just so perfectly atmospheric for that, and again, just capturing Chicago so brilliantly. Like, it's just. It's so good.
Yeah, Chicago is part of this film, isn't it? Chicago,
yes, it is.
It's
But I
become
have
a
to say,
cliche.
yeah, but I have to say, Chicago is. It's not Chicago in like it's movie Chicago. There's no like big sweeping Chicago shots in the way that like stupid Highest to Lowest was doing its glamour shots of New York City, right? Everything Chicago, everything that the shooting of this is everything is so tight and in your face and close that almost it makes you feel a little bit sort of almost claustrophobic in a way. Like I like that this doesn't feel like big Chicago. This feels like dirty gutter Chicago.
Yeah, well, this is like the San Francisco of Woman on the Run.
Yes,
you know, or even in Shaft, you know, where he's just walking down the streets. These are just what the streets are. And if you see somebody in the background, that's just some bloke going about his business, or some woman, you know, taking the shopping or whatever it might be. You know, the cars that pass are people going home or going to work or whatever it is. And it just so happens we're following a fictional character down those streets.
Yes.
You know, and again, that goes back to how real it all feels. That this isn't a movie set, and it's not been closed off to shoot a movie, or it doesn't appear to have been. They're shooting it right in the middle of the reality.
Yes.
And I agree with that. Yeah, I agree. The sweeping shots would kill this. Yeah. But it's Chicago living and breathing. And like I say, it's a cliche to me, it's becoming a cliche when people say, well, the city is a character in its own right. But here it's true. Here it's absolutely true.
Yeah. It's done in a way that's maybe more similar to, like in a contemporary example would be maybe something like Caught Stealing. That version of New York felt very real and,
definitely.
You know, so again, you can kind of feel that sort of influence on that per se, possibly.
Definitely.
But, then the break-in scene. I love the break-in scene. The sort of, it's very Ocean's 11-y. You got the alarms click, you know, you got the alarms all sorted, you know, Mexico or whatever, you know, when the main alarm, they have to say the word. And just that whole scene of them breaking in and getting what they need and getting out without any problems was so satisfying.
Yeah.
And it needed to be satisfying because of what happens next.
Absolutely. It sure did.
But I mean, I know we talked a little bit already, but like them cutting through that door. What's fascinating is they actually purchased a real vault to cut open.
To cut open, yeah. This attention to detail is fabulous. It really is, and it does pay off. There's no denying it pays off. You know, and watching them do it is really tense.
Yes, so good, so good. And at one point, you know, this happens, and then, you know, Frank and Jesse and his friend Barry and his girlfriend are off in San Diego chilling, waiting for things to cool down, waiting for their money to come in. And he's like, money's gonna come in a few days. We're gonna go get it. And there's just that wonderful scene where Frank is sat next to Jesse with their kid, and the ocean is behind. They sort of pan up and they just sort of look to the ocean. And in many ways, that could be the end. You know, it could be an ambiguous ending. What happened afterwards? Does he get his money? Does he not get his money? Does he get his happy ending? Does he not get his happy ending? You know, and then, but you know, there's still good, 40 minutes of movie left, thank God.
Yeah. And for once, you don't feel it.
No. For once, you're like, oh, good. There's more to go. More to go.
Yeah. In fact, quite you know, that could be the end, but you're sort of thinking, please don't be.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, please tell me that he gets what he wants.
Yeah. You know, it's fantastic. And then, he goes and he, that scene with Leo and his guys, and he's like, look, where's the rest of it? You know? And he's like, Leo's like, this is the cash part. And he's like, what? And he's like, I've got your money. It's tied up in my business. You're my BITCH.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Oh.
And that's just a prelude to one of my favorite moments in the film, and that is when Leo explains how much of a dope Frank has been. You know, they've done they've done John Belushi over. Well, James Belushi, isn't it? They've done him over.
Yeah, James. Yeah.
Pretty viciously, has to be said.
Yeah, we'll get there. We're not quite there yet. That's the next scene.
But, yeah. Okay, all right. Don't let me forget to talk about that scene then.
Yeah, no, I want to talk about that. I literally want to talk about that next because I just the dialogue between Leo and Frank in this
when they're in the room,
is so perfect. I love this. Like, where's my gratitude? And Frank's like, where's my end? Like, what a line! What an effing line! Like, just so good. And then he's like, I want my money in 24 hours, or you're gonna wear your ass as a hat. And again, you're rooting for Frank. She's like, yeah, you're gonna get back these, you stick it to these gangsters, yeah. Even though you're a gangster, but like I said, you don't realize you're dealing with a giant, and you are an ant.
Yeah.
And then you have this wonderful dark interlude before you get to the Jim Belushi bit, the Barry bit, where he's driving. And again, just some of the just gorgeous cinematography, where like the city is reflected in the hood of the car.
In the hood of the, yeah.
It's just so good. And then you get to the dealership, and it's all those like that kind of neon blue lighting and just moody and atmospheric. And then you get there. For a second, I thought the cops had Barry.
Yeah, so did I.
Okay,
now, that's interesting because so did I.
I think it's meant to play that way. I think it's meant to play that way.
I think it's meant to play that way. And what's good about it is when I realized they hadn't, I thought, oh, that's good. Because the fact that I bought that so easily as being the cops means they've done their cops properly.
Yes.
They presented the corruption of those cops sufficiently well.
Yeah.
And nastily enough that I can fully believe they're giving this bloke a doing.
Yes.
And great writing. That is great writing for you, for an audience member, for a watcher, a viewer, or reader, whatever format you're in. To be that certain of something and then it turns out to be wrong means that you've set that up perfectly.
Yes, yeah. Because that scene was great, and you're sort of tense the whole time. You're like, oh, you know what? We haven't really spent a lot of time with Barry. He's sort of a background side character, really. But you also don't want him to die. You don't want anything. No. You kind of don't want anything bad to happen to Frank or his crew, even though we're not deeply connected to them, but you still want them to.
No, I liked Barry for two, and it was only from the roof scene, and that is the fact that he's wearing that Hawaiian shirt. You think you are totally styleless, and you're just like the goofball of this partnership. Except you do know what you're doing, because he has that great line where he says, "If I do it your way, I've got to crack 2 defenses or whatever it is."
Yes,
and so he knows what he's doing, but he's just like an idiot at the same time. Like one of those affable idiots.
Yes, yeah,
what's he called he's the American CIA agent in the Pierce Brosnan Bond, Joe Don Baker in the Pierce Brosnan.
Oh, yeah, Wade.
Wade, is he called?
Wade something.
And at one point, Brosnan's Bond looks at him, he's got that Hawaiian shirt on and shorts, and he just sort of shakes his head. He's wearing full naval.
Yes.
He shakes his head in disgust. I have that sort of feeling about Barry, whatever he's called.
Yeah. No, so it was, I mean, when Barry obviously doesn't want Frank to get done over, so he sounds the alarm, all hell breaks loose, and then there's that shot, man, when he gets shot, you're like,
he gets shot against the van.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
And then this is where you really see how vicious Leo is in this moment. The threats he makes. I'll put your CUNT wife out on the streets to be FUCK'd.
Well, like, this is the bit. Because up until then, Leo has been quite avuncular.
Yeah.
And quite smiley. And this is why Prosky's performance is so good. Because I think this is his film debut as well, although he must have been in his 50s.
I think it might have been. Yeah. It is.
But he's, again, so assured. And when you see these, this is like, I recently watched a documentary, one of many, about the craze. And this is the same sort of thing, when they're whining and dining the establishment on the one hand, and then they are absolute animals on the other. I get that with Leo. You know,
Yes.
he's nice as pie, and then he's talking about putting your wife on the streets for certain types of people. You know, and he says, "What? Each threat gets better and worse and worse and worse."
I know.
You know, and he says, your kid's mine. You rent him." I mean, that's a horrible thing to say, especially to Frank. You know,
yes,
that's part of his dream.
Yes.
And then he says, I'll whack out your whole family and people be eating them in their wimpy burgers.
Yeah, jeez. God.
And you think, wow. I mean, I've seen some films with gangsters being threatening, but somehow this is one of the worst I've seen.
Yeah, this gets you. This is
danger and frightening and just downright unsettling.
Yeah.
And it's perfectly believable that smiling villain, you know, turns into this all because of Prosky. It's brilliant stuff. I was absolutely biting my fingers off with tension when it was happening.
Yes.
And then you've got Caan just lying perfectly still on the floor, just looking at him, realizing, first of all, the position he's in and how he's got there.
Yeah.
Secondly, that what he wants he's not going to be able to have. And thirdly, he's going to do something about it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the stuff that follows after this it very much reminded me or felt very influential of Drive. Where the driver is let loose and he is going to murder everybody.
Yeah.
And you know, when Frank just goes around and starts blowing up everything, you know, first obviously he gets his wife and kid out. He says, here's a bunch of money, go away, go far away, don't tell me where you're gonna go, blah, blah, blah. And then he's just like, I'm gonna burn it all down. You're gonna threaten me this way, I'm gonna burn everything. Down.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he's that sort of scary man who has nothing to lose, even though he has something to lose. He really just cuts loose, and the house, which was nuts, the blowing up the bar, blowing up the dealership, and then going back to Leo's house for that final confrontation. Jeez.
And you see Leo sitting there with his feet on the table and his shoes off, totally relaxed.
Yeah, and the guy's like, "You want some milk?"
Yeah.
Nope. Hey guys, it's jovially going through the house, gonna get him some milk.
Yeah, and he's laughing to himself as he goes, isn't he? He's sort of giggling to himself.
Yeah.
And then you get another great shootout.
No, this scene was terrific. This final confrontation of Frank going through the house, and I mean, he's doing things that are sort of, you're like, oh, you're not thinking things fully through, but I don't think he's thinking clearly in this moment either. So, you know, he takes care of the first guy who's drinking the milk, but doesn't take his gun. And I'm like, he should have taken his gun. Taken his gun.
He's not. He's not thinking though, is he?
No, I don't think he is. But then you have that really great moment where after he takes care of that guy, he sees the woman watching TV and he points a gun at her, and she just sort of looks at him for a second and then makes no reaction and then turns back to the TV like, "This is just my husband's life."
Yeah. Yeah. Here's another one.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so good. And then that sort of stalking through the house, and you know, you sort of think who's gonna win in the shootout. And it's very subdued, the shootout between Frank and Leo.
It is, but you don't know Frank's gonna come out of it, do you?
No, you don't. But when Leo jumps out and then gets shot, and then you think he's gonna come back and shoot again, and then Frank blasts him in the. Does he shoot him in the head? I think he shoots him in the head.
Yeah,
because then Leo has a really kind of grotesque final few moments there.
Yeah, there's a lot of that sort of. I don't want to say overacting, but you know what I mean. When people are sort of throwing themselves around a bit when they're dying.
Yeah.
Which I think is a bit of 80s cinema, but I don't notice it in this when it's happening because it's been so well done up to that point, you know.
Yeah.
So well done.
It was earned. It was earned, I think.
It's earned. Yeah, it's definitely earned. And it's I mean, it's a good bit of blood and gore to finish off your neo-noir stuff. know?
Obviously then he goes. I like the bit where he goes outside. He's chasing the guy that who's drinking the milk, but he's not paying attention, and then gets shot by the other guy who's got the bigger gun. And I thought, oh no, he's gonna die. They're gonna kill. Everyone's gonna die. Everyone's gonna die in this movie. Okay, this is the end. Everyone dies. All right. It's doing what the killing couldn't do. They wanted the guy to get chopped up by the blades of the airplane. But obviously he reveals that he's got a bulletproof vest. Shoots the other guy. Reveals he's got a bulletproof vest on, which apparently at the time was confusing to audiences because this wasn't a normal thing at that time.
Bulletproof vests are 10 a penny now, aren't they? But they weren't then.
Mm.
You didn't see them.
Nope.
In films then and on the TV. So it will have been people, and you don't really see it, do you? You're sort of not sure what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's obvious what it is now because, like I say, the 10 penny. But at the time, the audience will have been like, I don't know what this. What's he got on?
Yeah.
But the fact the film refuses to explain it is great.
Yeah. Yeah, it requires your audience to be intelligent and to, if they don't know, to maybe look it up, and I appreciate that. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I love the fact that as this sort of pans out, like also it's fun that this finale doesn't happen like on the mean city streets. It happens in the quiet, posh suburb.
Yeah, I love that.
Every street is sort of on every street, which I really, like that. And then it almost has that it has that crane shot, right? As it pulls back and he's walking up the street, that in another movie set during the day, and you put happy music over it. It feels like the boy got the girl ending,
rom-com.
But this is that dark twisted version of that, in that the boy got the girl but had to send the girl away.
Yeah.
And now he's just walking alone into the night. And I love the fact that the film doesn't cut until he fully disappears in shadow. Yeah.
Perfect.
Once he's perfectly gone, that's when the film cuts.
Because this is one of those films that made me say, now wait for the credits, because you don't know what they're going to pull here.
Yeah.
Be sure this is over.
Yeah.
Because in a way, this is your beach ending.
Yes.
Because does he get his dream in the end? Or because Mann says, where does he go? He goes nowhere.
Yeah.
But Caan reckons he goes, and Frank's the sort of bloke who will fight for what he wants, and that he goes back and fights for Jesse and the kid.
Yeah.
He gets it.
Yeah. I feel that I would buy that. I can see both, but I
can see both.
Given what he was doing, given how he acted out the whole film, I can see he wouldn't just give up slowly, like in the way that, again, Drive. At the end of that movie, you really have no idea where the driver is going. He is probably literally going nowhere, because he's probably going to go somewhere and die because of his wounds.
Yes.
But with but with this, you're just sort of like,
maybe they're both right. Maybe Mann is ultimately right.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to go. Frank has to do what Caan says for quite a while, until he realizes either he's not going to get it or he's going to die trying.
Yeah.
I can buy all three of those.
Yeah, I can too.
And that is what a great ambiguous ending does. There's no sort of loose ends. There's no ambiguity in the sense of, well, why did he do that?
Yeah.
There's only ambiguity of where he goes, not from where he's been.
Yeah.
That's what an ambiguous ending should do, folks.
Exactly.
Trying to write one.
It's perfect. So as you talking about film, actor debuts in this, there was a number of debuts. You were right. Yeah. Robert Prosky's. This is his film debut.
I thought so.
It's Jim Belushi's debut as well. It's also William Peterson, who in a few years' time will go on to become Will Graham and Manhunter. When I saw him, I was like, I didn't realize. I was like, wait, that's Will Graham. And then I kind of thought, was he going to have like a presence in the film? But he's literally just in one quick scene, and then and then is gone. But I was like, that's Will Graham.
He's the bar. He's a bartender, isn't he?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, there he is. So that was
is it not Dennis Farinas? I think it's Dennis Farinas.
Yep.
Who will be Will Graham's boss?
Yeah, of course.
In a couple of years, in 4 years' time.
Yeah.
After this.
Yeah. It's great. But yeah, no, I mean, this is Thief is a terrific film, a great neo-noir kind of heist gone wrong movie. This was such a treat, and it's like I said, it's funny. Everyone who hasn't yet, go back and listen to Manhunter, which comes out 4 years later. There is a visual style that is fantastic, but there is a lot of this holds up. This is a strong film in Mann's filmography.
Let me ask you this very quickly then. If Manhunter is a product of its time and this is a product of its time, or is it?
Well, no.
As much as Manhunter is. I mean,
I think it is, but I think Manhunter suffers from the 80s-ness of itself.
Yeah.
In both its style, its visual style, its locations, its attire, its sort of it takes everything a little bit too far and grounds it in too much of what is contemporary 80s. And then therefore it's stuck in that period.
And so what it means is they're both products of their time, but Thief wears it far better.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Well, let's rate it then. So as everyone knows, we rate all of our films out of 5 Falcons, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. What are we rating Michael Mann's Thief, Matt?
This is a 5 for me.
Okay, fair enough.
I was struggling between 4.5 and 5. That's what I was struggling with.
Yeah,
but I was thinking, what can I knock half a Falcon off for? And I'm not sure I can.
It's fair enough.
There are a few things, but
there are a few little quips. There are a few little problems. I'm going to give it a 4. I'm going to give it 4 Falcons, but like a 4 is incredibly strong. Like that is that is high praise. That is go get this film. That is add it to your collection. This is a masterpiece of a film. Hey, look, there's just a couple little character things that I think could have been ironed out that felt a little bit sloppy. A couple of things, like for example, when Gags is dead, it took me a while to realize who Gags was and who Gags and who had died.
There's a bit of that.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that just sort of, it's a very, very good, very well accomplished debut. There's so much thought, so much effort put into this film. Actors are acting their pants off in this thing. It's a classic or cult classic or considered a classic now for a reason. It's
absolutely.
There's so much to admire about it, but there's a couple little bits that
it's just those couple of little bits aren't enough for me to say
that's fair.
It deserves to knock a wing off.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. It's fair enough. But I think we've thoroughly investigated Thief, 1981. But if you haven't yet, make sure to like and subscribe and leave us a review on Apple or Spotify. That goes a long way. We will be back next week with another case. So in the meantime, remember to take care walking down those mean streets.